All right, welcome everybody. True Revival Temple, Apostolic Ministry, and I was just telling everybody a moment ago that I'm going to be presenting something that, this is actually something that Pastor and I talked about on more than one occasion, and I thought it was kind of a really interesting question, but like I said, I don't have 1,000% that I can tell you, I didn't go up to the top of a mountain and he didn't hand me a stone tablet that says, this is exactly how it is, right? So there's conjecture. And my question is, when and where did evil appear? First come into the world. Isn't that an interesting question? I thought it was. All right, so John 1:1. Tells us, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. And all things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
All right, so either His Word's telling the truth or His Word's lying. If His Word's telling the truth, then that means He had to create evil.
That's right.
Didn't He?
Yes.
Because if it specifically states unequivocally, there's no dodging around this. It says nothing was made without Him. Right?
Right.
But yet it also says that there's no bad, there's no evil found in God. So how do we, isn't this kind of something wrong with these scales? Right? Okay. So I had to think about that. I had to wrestle with that and pray about that a little bit, because I thought that was a really interesting question. How can that be? Well, if 1 and 3 is correct, then He had to make it, right? So what would be going on with that? Okay, so then thinking about it, I'm going, well, I could think about killing somebody but not be a murderer because I didn't do it, right? I could think about adultery but not commit it. So, well, yeah, maybe that gets into the gray area, but I'm not an adulterer because I didn't go through with it, right? So if there's no evil character in God Himself, it doesn't mean that the thought of evil existing did never occur to Him, because He knows everything, right?
That's right.
Okay, so stay with me here. Follow this, okay? If that didn't exist, how would we have any choice? Hold on to that. All right, now I'm going to go to Ezekiel 28:12, please. Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say to him, thus saith the Lord God, thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day thou wast created. Who's he talking about? He's talking about Lucifer when he was still Lucifer, isn't he? When he was okay, when he was perfect. Before, right? Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, till iniquity was found in thee. Oops. By the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee, it shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ash upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. So he's being mocked right here, isn't he?
Yes.
He's making a fool of him in front of everyone. He's being publicly humiliated. All they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shalt thou be anymore. Okay, so first it starts out pretty good, doesn't it? The first half of that whole passage is pretty nice. Like, wow, this is crazy. Check out all these expensive stones and all this fancy work. Right? He's saying The workmanship of thy tabrets and pipes was prepared in thee in the day thou wast created. He was in charge of the worship team. Actually, my wife asked me a very interesting question. And she said, okay, so what do you think about these? And I said, all right, what are these? She goes, well, if Gabriel is FedEx, he's in charge of the messengers. Michael is General Stone, he's in charge of the warriors. Lucifer was in charge of the worship team. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. So the conjecture was that they were all co-equal, although they had different functions. Okay, catch the difference here. They're not three guys doing the same thing. So they were all at the level. So remember, Eisenhower was the only 5-star general in the history of the United States because they put him in charge of everything in World War II. So God would be Eisenhower the 5-star, and then these guys are the 4 stars underneath them. Right? So they were equal, but still had to answer to the general, didn't they? All right. So World War II went pretty smoothly for the most part because the generals did what they were asked to do. And you can't control what the enemy's going to do, but you're doing your job correctly. Things move along, for the most part, fairly well. Except here we had one of the generals rebel. He said, nah, I ain't taking the marching order. So the tabrets and the pipes, right? So look, he's built to create perfect, beautiful sound, music, praise, everything that God expected and had a right to expect because he built it, right? And he says, look at how I made you. And then you get to 15 and the scale flips. That was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created. Oof, till iniquity was found in thee. From the beginning of that one verse until the end, the whole thing turned upside down. Didn't it? It doesn't say how long this was, but he did his job for a period, right? Just like the other guys did. Right? Michael, Gabriel. And all of a sudden here we see a turn. But if he had no choice, how would he turn? Anybody ever been to Baskin Robbins? Right? Did you ever stand there with the deer in the headlights looking on, oh man, there's so many different ice cream choices. You look at the sign and it's like, okay, the black cherry forest. Oh no, oh man. You're like, wow, okay, I don't know what to do. And the girl's just looking at you like, you gonna order something? Like, yes, I am. Just give me a minute. How about we go there and there's nothing but chocolate? You go in there and they're like, hi, welcome to the ice cream shop. And they're like, okay, I want vanilla ice cream. No, I don't have that. Okay, black cherry's fine. Nope, don't have that either. Strawberry? Nope. Well, what do you have for me? Chocolate. Well, I'm expecting a choice, aren't I? And I have no choice. So what are you probably going to do? Unless you're in the mood for chocolate, you're most likely to turn around and walk out again, aren't you? Because you have no choices, right? So if you were to stay there, you're basically a marionette on strings, right? You're a puppet. You have no choice. You get chocolate or you get no ice cream at all. So if there were no choices ever, then how would Lucifer have rebelled? And then, how would he have turned around and messed with Eve's head? And Eve made a choice, a very bad one, obviously, but she did make a choice because he said, the day that you look at it, touch it, and all of that, you're going to die. No, you won't. No, you won't. I'm promising you won't. She makes a choice and says, okay. But if none of those choices ever existed to begin with, she'd be a puppet too, right? He would say, you don't mess with that tree over there. You have all these other trees that you can play with, and nothing would have ever changed. We would not be here having to come to church to repent for things that we did that we shouldn't have, because we never would have done anything that required repenting to begin with. There was no choice. So for us not to be created as puppets, God had to make a yin and a yang. There had to be two sides. There had to be a light and a dark. Because otherwise, you got chocolate. You got no black cherry. You got no vanilla. You got no strawberry swirl. You have no choices. Thou was perfect in the way from the day thou was created till iniquity was found in thee, the beginning of the mess. And then he goes on to describe how bad this is going to be. The multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence. Thou hast sinned, therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God. I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, in the midst of the stones of fire. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. What just happened there? Ego. It was nothing but pure ego. He's 4-star general number 3 and looks at the other 2 guys and says, I can take them. They ain't that much. And this guy here, he thinks he's all that, but I can take his throne. I'm not making that up. It says that he desired to exalt himself. He said, I will sit upon the throne. So the word is backing up that opinion. He looks and he says, I can do this. I'm going to take this guy. Weave and bob. Like Ali. Float like a butterfly. I'm going to punch him, sting like a bee. And God's going, bring it. Bring it. If God was the creator of all this, and of course we know that he is, was he in the least afraid of any of this going on? Of course not. He looked at it and he goes, basically like, you know, your 4-year-old say, I'm going to dot your I. And it's like, yeah, you go right ahead and try that, pal. I'm going to tune you up. You won't be sitting down for a week. It's like that. It's like a little kid thinking that they're going to take on their 250-pound dad who's all jacked. You know, it ain't going to happen. But he's thinking it, right? The kid's thinking it. He's like, oh, I can take it. He's like, no, kid. You don't want to go there. You get a black and blue marks. Don't do it. But yet he was thinking it. And he tried to do it. What happened? Big Jack Muscle God gave him right across the back of the head, didn't he? And kicked him out. So, what do we know about what happened to him after he got kicked? Well, we know some, actually. God gave a revelation to Isaiah in 14, starting at 9. He says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say to thee, art thou also become as weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? The pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy viols. The worm is spread unto thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Thou hast said in my heart, here we go, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne upon the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the height of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. I'm counting 5 eyes in there in two verses. 2 verses. Counting 5 eyeballs. And he just, yeah. Like, I don't think you're gonna win this one. You picked the wrong guy to fight with. Yeah, it's like, you know, when a punk's in an alley, he sees a guy walking along, and he's like, oh man, I'm gonna jack this guy up. I'm gonna take everything he's got and steal his wallet. He doesn't know the guy's a black belt. So he sneaks in here and he goes, give me all your stuff looking all tough. And the other guy goes, please don't make me hurt you. He's like, yeah, really? He's like, I'm gonna give you one more warning. Please don't make me hurt you. Okay, little man, bring it. And he tunes him up. And he tunes him up good. He leaves him busted and bleeding. And it's like, yeah, I picked the wrong guy to try to jack this weekend, didn't I? Might make him think about his career choices, huh? Perhaps rolling people in alleys not such a good plan. And yet, what are we seeing right here is that pretty much he just got rolled. Right? 5 times he says I. Look at that massive amount of hubris, that ego that says I am all of that. right? And
Those chips were stale.
chips are stale, yeah. Not a bag of chips and all that, huh? And if we back up, we see why. He looks at how he was made and thinks that he's something better because of that. Right? Can't a lot of us maybe learn something from that too? I would say maybe some of us are perhaps smarter than most people, or just a lot bigger and a lot taller than most people, so we're bullies. Or we're really, really wealthy and we like to push that in everybody's face. Hey, did you see that Bentley I got? Yeah, it's out there in the parking lot. Yeah, why don't you take a look at it? It's real shiny, brand new. And I got a guy that waxes it for me every week. I just pay some schmuck to take care of the car for me, because I've got so much money. Anybody know anybody like that? Do you like being around them? They're annoying, aren't they?
Yes.
They really, really are, because A, they're very pompous and arrogant and annoying, and B, we really know that it's not them that has done this. Right? Doesn't God say He lifts up and brings down?
Yes.
Rain falls on the just and the unjust?
Yes.
You know? So, where did Schmuck Boy make all his cash from? Maybe he's really good at the stock market, and all of a sudden he plows into an IPO that was a bad idea. And you see him a month later and like, hey, what happened to the shiny Bentley and the schmuck that was polishing it for you? Well, about that. And you're sitting there going, Now, you might have enough class not to laugh openly at his misfortune and his demise, but you might walk away when he can't see you anymore. You go, he had it coming. He really did. Anybody been there? Right? And after all of the 5 eyes here, right? Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? So let's go back to Schmuck Boy with the Bentley. Let's say that he fell all the way to the bottom. Now he's living under a bridge in a box. And you drive by, and you see this guy wearing a really expensive suit, which is now completely wrecked, and there's holes torn in it. He's pushing a shopping cart along. My goodness, that guy looks really familiar. You stop back up and have a look and you go, Frank, say you? He's like, because he's so ashamed. How has he fallen? He's like, yeah, what happened to the Bentley? The bank took it back. And the 7-bedroom mansion? Yeah, bank took that too. Really? Where's all your friends at? You got any money? You don't have any friends anymore. Wow, they really weren't friends, were they? Huh, how about that? Doesn't it say that he was openly mocked? Now, you might have enough class not to mock him, although you're saying, the guy really wasn't arrogant but some people will ride by and yell out the window, hey, loser, get a job! And you'd be like, yeah, I wish I could. Right? So because of his arrogance, now he's reaping that. He's getting his reward of being mocked. And it says right here that was the same thing. The people are walking by, basically, and saying, this is the guy we were afraid of? Now, I'm not saying that Lucifer doesn't have any power. He does. But he's certainly not in the realm of God, because otherwise God would give us a warning that we ought to really be afraid of him. But he doesn't tell us that. He says if we hold up the word, he will flee. People that are not afraid don't run. Right?
Right.
If you're facing off on somebody and the guy's ready to fight, he's going to be looking at you face to face, and he ain't going to take his eye off you because, you might try to pull a fast one, cold cock him or something. He's going to be looking at you 100% intent, ready to go, and he's fixed to rumble, and you know it. He's not going to turn his back on you and run. He's not even going to do that if he realizes that he already lost. He's getting out of here before he gets a hiney kicking. So he was being mocked openly, and everybody just walked by and went, that was the guy we were afraid of? spit on you. Huh. So, did that whole problem just kind of stop with him? No, we actually know that spread a lot further than that, didn't it? Because he went after Eve first. Because he didn't really have anybody else to go after. There was Adam and there was Eve, and that was pretty much it at the time. But after their mistake, problems get wider. 2 Peter 2:1 warns us, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you. Catch this. Who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. Many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of, and through covetousness shall they with vain words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnations slumber not. That's pretty serious stuff. That's powerful. He didn't say a heresy, he said damnable heresy. Denying God, denying the Lord that bought them. Who bought them? Jesus by his death on the cross, yes? So they're even denying that. They're saying, oh, either it didn't happen or it doesn't matter. That's pretty bad. And then what are they reaping? Bringing upon themselves swift destruction. It didn't say it was going to take a while. It didn't say it would happen 5 years. It said swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious way, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. How many news networks do we have? And how many news networks are bothering to tell you the truth? None. Yeah, I think that's probably correct. Some of them are better than others. I could name a few letters, but I'm not going to. But none of them are really telling you the truth. Because they all have spin doctor agendas, don't they?
Yes.
And why is that? Personal biases of the people that run them. Where the money's coming from. PACs and stuff like that, right? Political things going on in the background. So what are they telling you? They're telling you that, it's all right for, let me be clean. For people to be married to people they shouldn't be. And you all know exactly what I mean by that. And a lot of other things besides that. But what are they doing? They're just saying we're medieval thunderheads stuck in some stupid superstitious rut. We're not enlightened, free-thinking people. We're puppets dancing on the end of some pastor's string that's telling us that we need to think and do, right? And they're saying, oh, well, you guys are all crazy. You need to get with the times. You need to be correct. Oh, we are correct. That's why we're not agreeing with you. We're going with the agreement. Capitals. Capital letters, agreements. Not what you're going to tell me this week is better and acceptable. You want to have a flag with some colors on it. I'll leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So after this warning about all these scary false prophets and damnable heresies, well, what do we do about that? Okay. You asked, how about Ephesians 6 and 10? Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you might be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. And what are we fighting? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, not the people on TV, not the executives of CNN. Oh, I said that out loud. Oops. Or the executives of any newspapers, because they're just pawns. They truly are puppets. They're being manipulated by other people who have more money. Soros. Ooh, did I say that out loud? And who's manipulating those people? things we can't see. And you're like, well, that's a crazy statement. No, it isn't. Let me show you why. Not against flesh and blood, against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Principalities, powers, rulers of darkness of this world, spiritual wickedness. And why didn't he just say wicked people? Right? If he was meaning wicked people, why wouldn't he say that? Right? God doesn't choose words indiscriminately. We looked at that. We talked about the generations of the earth and the universe, and how there were a lot of things that were not specifically written down that are there because he was talking to farmers. And there's nothing against farming. Please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that they're any lesser than anything else, but at the time they were farmers and that's all they knew. They didn't have science. They wouldn't have understood if he tried to explain how fossils were created. So he's like, Moses, I'm going to skip that part. I'm going to let you all figure it out later. Because being omniscient, omnipresent, and eternal, he already knew that 3, 5, 7,000 years later, we're going to build robots and send them out into space. And we're going to photograph the other planets. And we've now got photographs of all of them, including one that isn't a planet anymore. He stole Pluto, When I was a kid, we had 9 planets. And every time we send a robot to take pictures, we're still blown away by, whoa, what the, huh? Wait a minute, back that film? What is that? I mean, NASA's supposed to be some of the smartest guys on the planet, right? And they're still blown away every time they run one of these missions because they see stuff that they never expected. And it just constantly proves over and over again how God's just sitting there going, oh, they're going to love this. Wait until that lander hits Mars. They're going to get pictures they ain't never seen. And it's like, oh yeah, wait till that thing starts swinging around Saturn a couple of times. They're going to get some photos of those rings and they're going to be like, and I'm just going to be sitting up there going, wasn't that my best work? You're like, wait until you see what I did in all the other star systems when you figure out how to get to those. You're just having a good time with the little neighborhood that you're in. Wait till you overfly the city and get a picture from on high and see the whole city layout. All you're seeing is your block right now. That's all we got. We're just on the block, right? We got 9 houses. We're just seeing the local stuff. So, we build them big old telescopes, we point them out, and we're like, wow, I think there's planets out there. They call them exoplanets. Like, wow. Think we could ever get out there to see one of those? Oh, right now, there's no way that we can figure that out. They're far too far away with our current technology.
But that truth can change.
Do we know if we're ever going to be able to do that? No way to say. People used to say before the Wright brothers, unless it was a balloon, the idea of flying was pretty insane. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. People had built gliders and things like that around that time period. But, okay, let's say if you go back a couple hundred years before that. That was science fiction. Galileo made little airplanes and stuff in his sketchbook. The guy was a genius, but he was so far ahead of his time that he couldn't fabricate those things because the science to build them didn't exist. He pictured it in his head and he says, I know that I could make this to work, and actually it would. Except he's like, well, I don't have an engine. How do I push this thing? He was way past the technological possibilities at the time. But before that, it was like, I don't know, some birds flying. a lot less stable that have atomics as well. So far, by the grace of God, nobody has lit one off past 1945 when we did. But they have a choice too, don't they? If they possess those weapons, their choice is, do I use them? Because they know what the retaliation is going to look like. The place is going to be a glass parking lot. When you heat sand hot enough, it turns into glass, if you didn't know that. So multiple atomic strikes make a giant glass plane. Nothing else is left. And nobody's going to live there for a long, long time. So we have that choice. The president has the button. Thankfully, no one since Truman's pressed the button. But there's the choice. So then you might say, hey, is just, all this stuff just going to keep going the way it is? No, not exactly. Revelation 20:1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. So, if I'm remembering right, isn't this not basically usually publicly known as the 1,000 years of peace, the millennial reign, right? But it's also telling us that even that isn't completely over, is it? So he's going to give him 1,000 years, which to us seems like an incredibly long amount of time, because we're lucky if we live 100 years. But that's going to end too. Eventually, that 1,000 years runs out. And then what? And cast him in the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him. He should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. Then he's going to be loosed a little season. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, in which he had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark in the forehead or the hand. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. The rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This was the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such, the second death hath no power. They shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And here's where it gets funky. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about in the blood city. And fire came down from God out of heaven, and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Sounds like somewhere I don't want to go.
Right about that.
I'm pretty sure that nobody else wants to either, unless you're just not right in the head, because that's not a great image. And it didn't say anything about getting parole. It says ever and ever. You don't get out good behavior after 12 years on a 20-year sentence. That's something man invented. God don't follow that. So after I talked about all of these different choices and who made what choices, and we still have a choice, don't we? That or to reign with him in eternity. So what choice are you going to make?
Right.
Every one of us has to make that choice. If Pastor goes to heaven, I ain't going with him unless I go with him. He's not saving you.
Who?
You.
Who?
You. You going to heaven ain't going to get me there.
I bet not. That means the Bible's a lie.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So if you and Steve go there, does that guarantee I will? Oh, wait. No, maybe it's because you, Steve, and Dale have to get there, and then the three of you can pull me in, right?
No, you lost.
No? It don't work that way, does it?
I'm not pulling you.
No. Nobody can pull anybody else except Jesus himself. So after all of these possible bad or good choices, And you can see that we have the ability to make all those choices because he created not only good, but evil. Because otherwise, if there's no balance, there's no yin, there's no yang, you have no choices. You're a puppet, but we're not. We have choices. So make the right one. This tells you what you need to make the right one. Because you might be like, well, how do I know that? Well, there it is. Easy instruction manual before leaving Earth. It's your choice.